I never thought handing my baby to the wrong person first would blow up my entire life in less than 48 hours. But here I am, 1 week postpartum, sitting alone in our apartment with a newborn while my husband's stuff is gone and divorce is hanging over my head. I'm Brianna, 29, and let me tell you how I managed to destroy my marriage faster than my episiotomy stitches could heal. Carter and I got married after dating for 2 years. It was pretty much a whirlwind. Both of us were climbing in our careers, we had this cute little apartment in the city, and we were always on the same page about everything. Or so I thought. The one thing that always seemed to bug him was my friendship with Liam, my ex from college. I mean, Liam and I dated for 3 years before we realized we were better as friends. We broke up 5 years ago, but we never really broke the habit of being in each other's lives. When Carter and I first started dating, he seemed cool with Liam being around. But after we got engaged, he started making these little comments. Like, when Liam would text me late at night and I'd laugh at something he said, Carter would ask, "What's so funny that he needs to tell you at midnight?" I'd roll my eyes and tell him he was being ridiculous. Liam and I were just friends, and Carter needed to get over his jealousy issues. I found out I was pregnant just 9 months after the wedding. Total accident. I missed 2 pills during our friend's destination weekend. I was freaking out because we had this 5-year plan that definitely didn't include a baby in year 1. But Carter? He was over the moon. Started reading all these dad books and downloading parenting apps before I even got past the morning sickness phase. Liam had moved to Seattle for work around the time Carter and I got married, which honestly made things easier since he wasn't physically around. But 3 months into my pregnancy, he got transferred back to our city. He immediately appointed himself as my pregnancy buddy, bringing me ginger candies for nausea and texting to check how I was feeling almost daily. Carter noticed right away. "Doesn't Liam have his own life to worry about?" He'd ask whenever my phone would buzz with another text. "He's just being supportive," I'd say, not understanding why Carter couldn't just appreciate having another person looking out for me. As my pregnancy progressed, Liam became more and more involved. He'd show up with food when Carter was working late. He'd offer to drive me to appointments if Carter couldn't make it. He even came with us to a few of the childbirth classes when Carter had to work. Looking back, I can see now how Carter's jaw would tighten every time Liam inserted himself into another pregnancy milestone. By month 7, Carter finally put his foot down. We had this huge fight where he told me it wasn't normal for my ex to be so involved in our pregnancy. I told him he was being controlling and that Liam was just a good friend who cared about me. "He's not just a friend, Brianna. He's your ex-boyfriend who's clearly still in love with you, and you're either too blind to see it, or you enjoy the attention too much to stop it," Carter had said. I was furious. I accused him of trying to isolate me when I needed support the most. 3 weeks before my due date, I started having contractions while Carter was at a work conference 2 hours away. He immediately left when I called, but was stuck in terrible traffic. After timing my contractions for an hour and realizing they were getting closer together, I panicked and called Liam without even thinking twice. He arrived at our apartment in 15 minutes flat and drove me to the hospital. By the time I was checked in and settled in the labor and delivery room, my contractions were coming strong. Liam was right there, holding my hand through each contraction, getting me ice chips, and advocating for me with the nurses when I was in too much pain to speak. Carter finally arrived 4 hours later, looking stressed and disheveled. The atmosphere in the room immediately changed. Carter gave Liam this cold nod, and Liam, who had been sitting right next to my bed in what was obviously the partner chair, didn't immediately move to give Carter his spot. "How are you feeling, babe?" Carter asked, coming to the opposite side of the bed. "I'm hanging in there," I said, then immediately turned to Liam when another contraction hit. "Can you press on my back like the nurse showed you?" I didn't notice then how Carter's face fell as Liam jumped up to help me through the contraction, demonstrating a technique they must have gone over while Carter was stuck in traffic. The next 18 hours were a blur of pain, exhaustion, and medical staff coming in and out. Carter tried his best to take over the support role, but it was obvious he felt like an outsider. Liam didn't pick up on the hints to leave, or maybe he ignored them, staying through the entire labor. When our daughter finally arrived at 5:37 a.m., I was completely worn out. The nurse cleaned her up while the doctor finished with me. Carter had tears in his eyes, and even Liam looked emotional standing in the corner of the room. "Do you want to hold your daughter?" the nurse asked, coming toward the bed with our tiny blanket-wrapped baby. This is the moment that destroyed everything. Though I couldn't see it then. I looked up, still dazed from the delivery, and saw both Carter and Liam standing there. Without really thinking, I gestured to Liam and said, "Let him hold her first. He's been here from the beginning." The nurse hesitated, looking between the men uncertainly. Carter's face went completely white. His mouth opened slightly like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. The room went dead silent except for the baby's little noises. "Are you sure?" the nurse asked, clearly uncomfortable. "Yeah, it's fine," I said, still not registering the bomb I had just dropped. "Liam, come meet my daughter." The nurse reluctantly placed my newborn daughter in Liam's arms. He looked down at her with this expression of wonder and whispered, "She's perfect, Bree." I smiled tiredly, feeling this weird sense of completeness seeing him hold her. It wasn't until I glanced over at Carter that I realized something was terribly wrong. He'd stepped back against the wall, his face a mask of hurt and shock. "What's wrong?" I asked him, genuinely confused by his reaction. "What's wrong?" Carter repeated in a low, shaking voice. "You just gave our daughter to your ex-boyfriend to hold before me. Her father." The way he said it made my stomach drop, but my immediate reaction was to get defensive. "Oh my God, don't make this into a big deal. He was here first and has been helping the whole time. You'll get to hold her next." "That's not the point, Brianna," Carter said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "That was supposed to be our moment, mine and yours and our daughter's, not his." Liam shifted awkwardly, still holding the baby. "Maybe I should give her to you, man," he said to Carter, finally seeming to read the room. No, he's overreacting," I said quickly. I turned to Carter. "Why are you trying to create drama right now? I just gave birth. Can you stop making everything about you for 5 minutes?" The hurt in Carter's eyes deepened, but before he could respond, my phone pinged with a notification. Liam had taken a selfie with the baby while we were arguing and sent it to me. I reflexively checked it, and Carter watched me do it, his expression hardening further. "Seriously?" he said. "You're checking your phone right now?" "It's just a picture," I said, holding up the phone to show him. "Look how cute they are together." Carter stared at the picture, then at me. Like he couldn't believe what was happening. "I'm going to get some air," he said finally, turning toward the door. "Carter, don't be ridiculous," I called after him. "Come hold your daughter." He paused at the doorway, looking back at the three of us. Me in the hospital bed, Liam still cradling our newborn. "Is she?" he asked quietly, then walked out. I rolled my eyes at his dramatic exit. "He'll cool off," I told Liam and the nurse, who was looking increasingly uncomfortable. "He's just tired and emotional." The next day was a parade of nurses, lactation consultants, and doctor check-ins. Carter stayed in the room but was distant, spending most of his time either holding the baby silently or staring at his phone. When Liam texted asking if he could visit, and I said yes, Carter's whole body tensed up. "I thought we'd have some family time today," Carter said quietly when Liam arrived with flowers. "We are," I replied. "Liam's just stopping by to check on us." "That's not what family means, Brianna." But Liam stayed for hours. When a nurse came in to check my vitals, she smiled at Liam and said, "Dad, would you like to do skin-to-skin with the baby while I work with Mom?" Before I could correct her, Liam laughed and said, "Oh, I'm not the dad, just the best friend." The nurse looked confused, then embarrassed. When Carter heard about the mix-up, he didn't say anything. He just took the baby from the bassinet and sat in the chair furthest from Liam. Later that evening, after Liam finally left, Carter tried to talk to me. "Brianna, we need to discuss some boundaries here." "What boundaries?" I asked, scrolling through the pictures Liam had sent me from the day, some of which I was posting to Facebook with captions like, "Baby's first day with her favorite people." "Liam being here all the time. The nurse thought he was the father. Don't you see how messed up this is?" I looked up from my phone, annoyed. "No, I don't," He's being supportive while you're being weirdly jealous. He drove me to the hospital, Carter. That should have been me, Carter said, his voice tight. I'm her father. I'm your husband, and I feel like I'm being pushed out of my own family before it's even started. You're being ridiculous, I said. No one's pushing you out of anything. You're making a big deal out of nothing because of your insecurities. Carter didn't say anything else that night. The next morning, he was quieter than usual but helped me shower and get ready for discharge. The doctor said we could go home around noon, so we started packing up our things. Liam might stop by today. He said he picked up some groceries for us, I mentioned casually. Carter stopped folding. Brianna, I don't want him at our apartment today. Why not? He's just dropping off groceries. Because I'd like one day, just one day, with you and our daughter without your ex-boyfriend being involved. I sighed dramatically. You're still on this? I thought you would have gotten over it by now. Gotten over what exactly? The fact that you keep disrespecting our marriage? That you care more about his feelings than mine? That you seem to want him more involved in our daughter's life than her own father? Now you're just being ridiculous, I said. Liam is just a friend who's being helpful. Carter stared at me for a long moment, like he was seeing me clearly for the first time. I need to get some air, he said finally, grabbing his jacket. I'll be back before discharge. At 11:30, I was all packed and ready to go, but Carter hadn't returned. I texted him, "Where are you? We're ready to go soon." No response. By noon, I was getting annoyed. The nurse came in with the discharge papers, and I had to tell her my husband wasn't back yet. At 12:30, I was genuinely worried and called Carter's phone. Straight to voicemail. By 1 p.m., I was furious and called Liam to come pick us up. When we got to the apartment, I was shocked to find Carter's suitcase gone, along with some of his clothes and his laptop. On the kitchen counter was an envelope with my name on it. I handed the baby to Liam and tore it open with shaking hands. Brianna, the letter began. I can't do this anymore. The past 2 days have made it clear that I'm not a priority in your life or our daughter's. I've tried to talk to you about the inappropriate relationship with Liam multiple times, but you refuse to see or acknowledge how your actions hurt me. Having my child handed to another man before me was the final straw. I need some space to think about whether this marriage can work. I'll be staying at my brother's place for now. I'll reach out about arrangements to see the baby. Please don't contact me for a few days. Carter. What the hell? I breathed, dropping the letter on the counter. He left? He actually left? What's wrong? Liam asked, gently rocking my daughter. Carter left. He took his stuff and left. I could feel tears welling up in my eyes, not sad tears, angry ones. Who leaves their wife and newborn baby? What kind of man does that? Let me see, Liam said, leaning over to read the letter. Oh, wow. That's intense. It's completely irresponsible is what it is, I fumed. I just had a baby, his baby, and he's throwing a tantrum because I let you hold her first? Who cares who held her first? Liam shifted uncomfortably. I mean, I can see how that might have been important to him. Not you too, I snapped. He's being ridiculous. The next morning I posted on Facebook, nothing shows a man's true character like how he acts when things don't go his way. Apparently, some fathers think it's okay to abandon their one-day-old daughter because they didn't get to hold her first. Single motherhood. Here I come. 3 days after coming home from the hospital, I finally got a text from Carter. I'll be by tomorrow at 2 p.m. to see the baby. Please have Liam not be there. When Carter arrived the next day, he looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he had the beginnings of a beard. Can I hold her? He asked, not even greeting me first. I handed him our daughter, and his face softened immediately. He sat on the edge of the couch, as far from me as possible, and just stared at her. So, are you done with your little tantrum? I asked. He looked up, his expression hardening again. This isn't a tantrum, Brianna. This is me finally standing up for myself after years of being disrespected. Years? I scoffed. That's a little dramatic, don't you think? No, it's not, he said quietly. It's been the same pattern our entire relationship. Liam calls. You go running. Liam needs something. It takes priority over our plans. Liam's feelings always matter more than mine. That's not fair, I protested. Liam's been helping me while you've been gone. I'm gone because you made it impossible for me to stay, Carter said, his voice tight with emotion. Do you have any idea what it feels like to watch your wife hand your newborn child to another man first? To have that moment stolen from you? For the first time, I felt a twinge of doubt. Put that way, it did sound bad, but I was still too angry and proud to admit it. You're overreacting. It wasn't that big a deal. It was to me, Carter said simply, and the fact that you still can't see that is exactly why I needed to leave. Before he left, he said he'd have his lawyer contact me about a formal custody arrangement. Lawyer? I repeated, shocked. Are you serious right now? Yes, he said. I'm filing for divorce. 3 weeks after the birth, I received divorce papers. Carter had filed on grounds of irreconcilable differences, but the detailed allegations mentioned inappropriate relationship with a third party. I was furious. How dare he imply I'd cheated on him? I called my college friend Zoe, a family attorney, and asked her to represent me. These accusations are ridiculous, I told her. I never cheated on Carter. Zoe was quiet for a moment after reading through the papers. Emotional infidelity doesn't necessarily mean physical cheating. It means prioritizing another person emotionally over your spouse. Based on what you've told me, there might be some validity to his claims. What? You're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side, Zoe said patiently. But courts don't look favorably on situations where one spouse has a very close, boundary-crossing relationship with an ex. As if things weren't complicated enough, Carter requested a paternity test as part of the proceedings. That's insulting, I hissed when he told me. You know she's yours. Do I? Carter asked, looking at me directly. Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you and Liam have been a lot closer than you've admitted. As I watched him walk away, I felt sick to my stomach. Not just with anger at the accusation, but with a tiny spark of fear. There was one night, about 10 months ago, when Carter was away on a business trip and Liam and I had gone out for drinks to celebrate his return to town. We'd both gotten pretty wasted, and my memory of the end of the night was fuzzy. When I finally worked up the courage to ask Liam about it, his reaction only increased my anxiety. A paternity test? He repeated, his face going oddly blank. Why would he want that? Is there any reason at all, that this test might not show Carter as the father? I asked slowly. He swallowed visibly. We kissed. That's all. You passed out right after. We kissed? That's it? I pressed, not entirely believing him. Yes, that's it, he insisted, but something in his eyes made me wonder if he was telling the whole truth. The court-ordered paternity test was scheduled for when the baby was 6 weeks old. The day of the test arrived, cheek swabs for both Carter and the baby. Those were the longest 5 days of my life waiting for results. On the 5th day, Carter called. I got the results. Can you meet me at the park near my brother's place? Carter was waiting on a bench, staring at the ground. I sat beside him, the baby asleep in her carrier. Just tell me, I said, unable to bear the suspense any longer. He pulled an envelope from his jacket and handed it to me. I opened it with trembling fingers and skimmed until I found the conclusion. The alleged father, Carter Mitchell, is excluded as the biological father of the tested child. The world tilted sideways. No, I whispered. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake, Carter said, his voice hollow. I had them run it twice. Carter, I don't understand how this could happen. I didn't think. Save it, he said, standing up. The facts speak for themselves. Please, I begged, tears streaming down my face. I honestly didn't know. I was sure she was yours. He looked down at the sleeping baby, and I saw his eyes fill with tears. So was I, he said quietly. But she's not mine, and you've been lying to me our entire marriage. I wasn't lying, I insisted. I really thought. Stop, he cut me off. Even if you didn't know for sure, you knew it was a possibility. I'm done, Brianna. What happens now? I called after him as he turned to leave. Now you call Liam and tell him he's a father. The divorce will be finalized as quickly as possible. I called Liam from the park bench. The results came back. She's not Carter's. A long silence followed. Then are you sure? Yes, which means she's yours, Liam. My voice broke. You're her father. I need some time to process this, he said finally. Can I call you back? But he didn't call back. Not that day, not the next. When I finally reached him 3 days later, his voice was distant, formal. I need to think about what this means for my life. This wasn't part of my plan. It wasn't part of mine either. I snapped. But she exists and she's your responsibility too. I know, he said quickly. I just need some space to figure things out. Space. That's what they all wanted. Carter wanted space from me. Liam wanted space from his responsibilities. And I was left alone with a baby whose very existence had shattered my life into unrecognizable pieces. Liam eventually agreed to a DNA test which confirmed he was the father, but he was hesitant about taking an active role in our daughter's life. He offered financial support, but balked at the idea of regular visitation. I'm not ready to be a dad, he admitted during one of our increasingly tense conversations. Neither did I shouted, finally reaching my breaking point. You wanted to be so involved when you thought she was Carter's. You were right there, holding her first, playing house in my marriage. And now that you find out she's actually yours, you're running away? That was different, Liam muttered. I was just being supportive then. No, I said, the truth finally dawning on me. You were marking your territory. You liked the idea of being involved in our lives and undermining my marriage. You just didn't want the actual responsibility. 2 months after the paternity results, my divorce from Carter was finalized. The last time I saw him was at the lawyer's office, signing the final papers. I hope you find happiness, he said as we parted, and I could tell he meant it. I'm sorry, I replied, the words woefully inadequate for the damage I'd caused. My daughter is 6 months old now. Sometimes late at night when the baby is asleep, I scroll through old photos of Carter and me in happier times. I think about all the moments when I could have made different choices, all the times I could have respected his feelings about Liam, all the boundaries I should have set but didn't. I thought letting my ex hold the baby first was cute, a sweet moment between friends. Instead, it was the final straw that broke my marriage before we even left the hospital. And now, I have to live with the consequences of that choice every single day. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that relationships have boundaries for a reason. Not because of jealousy or possessiveness, but because respect matters. Trust matters. Putting your partner first matters. I just learned that lesson too late.